Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got this wonderful feeling bubbling. Today is deposition day. So here I am, my voice cracking and going horrible. Yes, bossy, it's deposition day and her birthday. Two holidays in one. Carolyn Wilson, hey, small town jewel. I am doing well. I'm singing today, even though I'm cracking up and not, but I'm doing so well today. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I used to write for Pathos for almost 10 years, a column called No Longer Quivering, where I talked about religion. Okay, I have so many things to talk about today. Hey, Heather. Hey, Karen. So many things. It's going to be one of those days. So I guess by now you all know it's deposition day. Todd Chrisley versus Catherine Paulson. So, hey. And so I'm actually kind of laughing about that, even though I don't think it'll go down. I think that a medical emergency will come up at the last second or some equally ridiculous BS. I'm in a good mood today. I was in a crappy mood yesterday. You should have seen me yesterday. Hey, Sue Elliott. Hey, dinner's ready. I threw up my back, so I was a very unhappy camper, even though my husband hauled me away to the beach. And I should be an unhappy camper today because we had an earthquake here. Oh, like 12, 15 or so. I was in the shower. I didn't even feel it. My husband felt it. And the aftershocks woke us up all night long because it was a pretty big one. It was a 6.3. So the price of living in paradise is that you sometimes will have rumblings. So I want to talk about everything today. There's so much going on that I've got to talk about. And it's ridiculous stuff. The first thing I got to talk about is Jkj Declassified. Okay, I have never interacted with this lady. I was told from the first moment she appeared on the scene in Twitter that she was toxic trouble and to avoid her. So I have. I don't watch her streams. I don't go to her Discord. In fact, the first I'd really ever. Oh, Todd Chrisley's already said that hey, Kira, that he is going to expose everything and he's going to keep us all in the loop on the depositions. I'll believe him. Todd's pretty solid. I like him. Even though I didn't even know who he was hardly at all, except the few little clips I'd seen on TV before he came after her. And I had a few little conversations with him. He seems like he's an all right guy. I got to say it. Anyway, he's coming loaded for bear. KJ keeps talking about a settlement. I don't think there's going to be one. I don't think he's going to allow that unless she turns over her YouTube channel and her social media accounts. That's what I foresee happening. And I don't even have a crystal ball either. So Jkj Declassified has been going after Real Entertainment News. Now, yeah, Depo Day. Hey, Chronic Space. She's been going after Real Entertainment News hard. Now, Real is a friend of mine. I've talked enough with Real to know that for all his bluster and yelling and sometimes the nasty things he says about women, that he has a good heart. He's just not as evolved as some of us would like him to be. And I can't criticize him too much for that because sometimes I put my foot in my mouth here and I say the wrong thing or use some really retro, crazy thing. And so there's that. She's going after him. She just bragged on her Discord this morning that she's going after him again today. She doxed him several weeks ago. She released his phone number, his address, his real name, his daughter's name. And posted a picture of where he lives and other information and Red Rampage. She put him in a difficult position and he was frightened. His phone kept ringing, he said. I believe that's what he was telling me that day. And he was frightened. He's frightened for his child. I don't blame him. Who wants that? And it's not like his name is not available. A lot of us know his real name. But when you post a picture of someone's house, you are going way too far, way too far. Taking a Zoom cricket class to learn how to, oh, that sounds like fun, Bossy. So she's bragged that today she's going to use video to expose him. So what I'm guessing is going to happen is she has somehow managed to unearth the Dr. Phil show episode that he appeared on, professing his love for Jodi Arias. Is that it, Arias? Which was a long time ago. And I'm just going to say this. We all do dumb things like that. There are some dumb things that I've done that I would not want blasted all over the internet that were just plain old stupid. And I'm going to tell you about one of them at the end here. So that's what she's saying that, hey, T King, that's going to happen, that she's going to do all this stuff. I think that Ren would probably have a pretty good case to get a restraining order against her from what she's done and maybe even file charges. Except it takes money to sue. I'm going to say that. The other thing I wanted to talk about real quick is that, what's the name of this website? monstersandcritics.com has done an article on how Amy Duggar King will not be attending the trial and making all these speculations and getting it all completely wrong. Some of the things they're claiming in the article that just made me laugh. They took those two tweets that we all saw where Amy said she was not going to the trial, no, not was her mother, and no one was staying at her house. And the other one where she said she's not providing security, she doesn't need moral support, any of that. So they're taking the wrong tactic. I just busted out laughing when I started reading this. One of the things they were saying is, let me find it. Let me find it. I laughed when I read this. Said her life is just so vastly different. She wouldn't even be doing any of this. Oh. So anyway, the article makes it seem like that there's no drama, that this is going down because everybody's gossiping about it, and then it's perfectly fine and normal to do these things. Need a card making class. Bossy 22. Yeah, those are really nice. So they are saying that, just all the stuff about how Amy doesn't need security force, that she looked into it before. It's like, are you kidding? So I kind of laugh because all of us that have been watching this, we know what's happened. It's a toxic friendship gone terribly, terribly wrong. And I want to talk about toxic friendships because I don't know about you guys, but I've had one or two of those myself. I think that Amy being friends without a crystal ball has been, I put this nicely, I know what I would say roughly, has been something of a symbiotic relationship. What I mean about that, I mean that Amy was using KJ to get out her swipes at the Duggars for whatever reason, and KJ was clearly using her to get Duggar gossip. So they both had ulterior motives. So that's one of those rare friendships that has ulterior motives, that everybody gets super hurt from that sort of thing. Now Todd, her husband, is doing the anti-friendship thing, and he's doing something really interesting right now. He did a search of everywhere that Road Hog has worked. He looked at Road Hog's curricula vitae, I guess you'd say, or resume, and everybody's laughing, thinking that he is doing this so he can try to complain to Road Hog's boss that he's being mean on the internet to his wife, which really makes me laugh. That is not the role of a protector at all. This is just ridiculous. Internet drama, it's ridiculous for anybody to ever think they're going to get somebody fired over this nonsense. So Amy's relationship apparently is falling apart with KJ like we all said it would. We all said she'd toss her under the bus because that's what happens with toxic friendships. KJ has claimed a lot in the past that I was her friend, okay? But I was never really her friend. She was somebody that I worked with, that I had conversations with, but I considered them an acquaintance only. I didn't consider them a friend, while she's running around telling everybody we were best friends. So at my old church, I got to observe a number of very toxic friendships with these different red flags that you're supposed to, sounds like a KJ move. Well, I know, but it was pretty clear pretty early on when I started working with her that she wasn't. She says that, but there are videos of her calling me her best friend. I can direct you to a video by Andrew Hall where he interviewed her in May of 2020, where she called me her BFF. So she says she doesn't know me. I worked with her at Patheos. I knew her at Patheos. I was one of the people she was pointed out to ask questions from in case she had any kind of issues with Patheos or she didn't understand certain things. I filled that role for a number of newbies they brought into our section. I would rarely hear from any of them, maybe once or twice, and say, hey, you know about this? But I heard from her all the time, all the time at the beginning. We all have been in toxic friendships. You were exactly right, Sue. And like I said, there were a couple things about her that gave me pause, so I stopped talking to her after about 3 or 4 months, mostly, except now and then she'd pop up and ask me something. Or complain about Steve. She complained about Steve stalking her for ages to me. And I was kind of like, who is Steve? I don't know who you're talking about. I don't have those problems. The stalkers that I've had have been ridiculous ones. And I'm going to talk about one of them. Okay, so at my old church, the most good example I've heard of toxic friendships was one between a lady that I'm going to call Shrimpleton, and her best friend, Lana. They were like peas in a pod. You saw them together all the time. But here's the thing. Instead of having the kind of friendship that's relatively healthy, where you do things together, but you don't do things together that are going to harm others or that are just too weird. When you get in these toxic friendships, sometimes one of the things that can happen is you get in this loop. You get in this closed loop where you're reinforcing all the worst about each other. What happened with Lana and Shrimpleton is every time we go away to a conference, they would be, I don't want to say they were acting the most spiritual. Let's just say they were doing some strange spiritual things. We would have these conferences and we would be worshiping God, worship. And they would start jumping around and saying, I see an angel here, I see an angel there, I see an angel there. It was their thing. They always did this. And it made people very uncomfortable, I observed. Sometimes it made me uncomfortable because they would do it at very inappropriate times. So what happened is they started cutting everybody out and they started doing more and more of this. I see an angel. I'm playing with the angels right now. Yeah, they were saying, I stayed up all night playing with the angels. Girl, I only stayed up all night last night because of the aftershocks of the earthquake. That to me is a reason to stay up, not because you're playing with an angel. So they did this for months on end. And pretty much of the New Orleans Shrimpletons, Well, actually, this girl who had written a book called Shrimpleton, but she couldn't get it published, a children's book. I thought it was pretty dreadful, and it was called Shrimpleton. She had made the main character, who was supposed to be representative of Jesus, and called him Shrimpleton. He was a shrimp going around blessing everybody in the sea. So between her weird book writing and everything else, and the let's play with the angels, and we're dancing with the angels, and we're being the weirdest we could be. And I gotta say, I'm becoming more and more having more respect for people who I'm going to call them the quiet Christians, the ones that pray and read their Bible and don't pester people and are just quietly holy. I'm beginning to think that's the way to go. Anyway, Shrimpleton and Lana just got weirder and weirder. They got into the closed circuit where they were reinforcing each other's weirdness. Lana was divorced. Shrimpleton was in a very bad marriage. In fact, it's kind of funny. Shrimpleton's husband's name was exactly the same as a very famous newscaster. Same. And what ended up happening is they became so close that divorced Lana slept with newscaster named husband of Shrimpleton. And the toxic friendship just exploded. And it became a game of mutually assured destruction at that point, with them they're telling everybody about each other's flaws and foibles, and it became even weirder. And they were both doing their angel thing, almost in competition at that point, saying weirder things. Yes, a literal clown. There's a video game with a Jesus allegory, and he's a clown. Oh wow. So Shrimpleton was just weird. And what happened was Shrimpleton left the church. That was too much for her to bear, because her friend was running around saying stuff. And myself and my friend Joni, we tried talking to Lana and saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't have slept with Shrimpleton's husband. And she went nuts and was like, oh no, I'm blocking both of you guys. It was right and righteous and blah, blah, blah. You to sleep with Mr. Newscaster. And of course, she ended up blocking all of us on social media and everything else. And I began, oh, thank you, Barbara. I began to wonder, and this was not the first affair I saw in our circle. I saw a number of affairs, and every single time, to a man or woman. I'm sorry, you're probably going to hear weird noises, because right above us is my grapefruit tree, and it is loaded with ripe grapefruit. And every parrot in the world is throwing above my roof right now, and they're going boom, 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 all this. So I lost track of what happened in Shrimpleton. Lana went on, had a pile of affairs, got married finally again, and she's going to a different church that's more righteous. But where it really got weird for me is all these people having affairs, so many of them, and they all justified it. They all had, quote, biblical reasons why it was okay for them to have affairs. Unless you're in an open relationship where both partners have agreed well in advance that all bets are off and you can have that fun time with whoever you want, it's infidelity. You shouldn't be doing it. That's just my personal opinion on that. I'm giving you my personal opinion. That's why I had a falling out with various members of the church. I'm going to have to address that. I'm going to do the stories, because some of the stories are downright bizarre. One of the women justified the affair she was having by saying that if her husband was masculine this wouldn't be going on. I don't recall Jesus ever saying, if your spouse is not masculine, feminine enough, you're perfectly fine to have an affair. I don't recall that anywhere in my Bible. That is pretty weird. And I've been lucky. I haven't had too many of those friendships. And even my friendship with Such That It Was, the one-sided friendship with a KJ, I had enough remove where it wasn't quite as, when she stood me up, it wasn't quite as traumatic as it was the one time I did have a very bad relationship that I should have seen the red flags. There was a lady. They are experts at scapegoating and justifying it for their own belief. Now, what they are, and it blows my mind, because for me, there's some bedrock truths, and I wouldn't do that. And anytime that I did anything that would be considered sinful, I would be extremely, extremely just heartbroken over it, particularly when I was involved with Way Down Workshop, because they really amp up the guilt. And while there's some good tips for losing weight, it just got weird. And that's my struggle. That's my struggle now. I weighed myself yesterday. I've gained 15 pounds since the Rona started. 15 pounds. I've been staying away from the scale because I knew that I'd gained a few pounds. And here I'm trying to lose weight, writing everything I eat down. I'm eating anywhere from 800 calories to 1,500 a day, and I'm still not losing weight. So I'm going to have to amp up the exercise. So this is my big fight, this whole weight thing. And that was my vulnerability where they all went after me at the old church. I'm skinnier than I used to be, but I'm still not where I need to be, if that makes any sense. So I'm about 80 pounds down, you guys, from where I was at my heaviest in Fundy Town. And that's why I still have a few nice jumpers left, because when I gained, I couldn't wear any of them. Now I can wear them just fine. So my own personal red flag, horrible relationship that I want everybody to learn with. Today is Katie's birthday. Yes, Angela, it's her birthday, and it is deposition day. Happy effing birthday. I wouldn't want to be in her shoes. That's all I can say. So I had a girlfriend named Gail who just popped up one day on Yahoo Messenger and started talking to me. And we got very close very fast. We were both around the same age. We were both involved with the arts. She had a career doing photography in California. I painted and did other stuff on the side. And I was the person that was in charge of fancy-fying the church up for every holiday. That was my jam. There's actually a name for that they used to have in some of the convents, somebody that they would appoint to do that and give them some kind of fancy name. And I did that. So that was my jam. Gail and I were very close, and we talked every single day for like 3 years online. And she knew all my secrets at that point. I really thought she was my bestie. And what happened was somebody appeared on our radar that she went after to have a relationship with them. And it was someone whose daughter was dying that I was also talking to him quite a lot. And she tried to make moves on him while his daughter was dying. So we had a falling out over that. She called this guy and his wife and various people awful names. And when we had our falling out over this, she told any number of lies about me online. I mean, this is like 25 years ago when the internet was new. I'm still in contact with the person that we were squabbling over. And I talked to him once in a great while, not on Yahoo. But what happened with Gail is she just kept coming after me. She was like a miserable stalker for like 3 or 4 years. And then she turned around and died of cancer. And while I'm not happy with anybody in my life dying of cancer, because it sucks. I've had cancer. My husband's had it. I've had all kinds of relatives. It's bad. But what I didn't recognize at the time is there were so many red flags. Anytime anybody wants you to spend all your free time talking to them, that's a red flag. We were in like a closed loop, like I was just discussing with Shrimpleton and Lana, where you're reinforcing each other's weirdness. One of the things that was the biggest red flag that I ignored, that took me some time to recover from, was she was unmarried and a photographer in her 40s. Well, let's see. Yeah, I would have been in my 40s then. And I had chosen to get married instead of pursue a career in the arts. even though I've quilted, painted, done all sorts of things for years. She spent a lot of time, first very subtly, and then later telling me that I had betrayed my artistic instincts and how much she absolutely hated people that did that. How much she thought that women that married and turned their art into a hobby sucked, that they should be ashamed of themselves. She just kept running that number on me over and over and over again, first subtly and then very openly. Now, with the benefit of hindsight and a little wisdom, God, it's hot in here all of a sudden. I realized what was going on. More than anything, she wanted to be married and she was alone. She didn't even have boyfriends at all. And there was nothing wrong with her. She was nice looking. But I realized what a subtle sabotager she was. She really drove some big wedges between my husband and I for a while with this relentless, you betrayed your arts crap, and you should leave him and become an artist and do what you were meant to be. So anytime you have a close relationship with someone where they get that close and they start telling you how badly you suck because of some minor thing that you did, some open life choice you made, know that that person, they just suck altogether. They just suck and there's nothing you can do about it. The best thing you can do is say, bless your heart, and just get the heck away from them, which is kind of sort of the way I was handling Katie. Who was it that said that she didn't know me? I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the description with a link to Andrew Hall's interview where she called me her BBF. And this was like the day after she'd stood me up too. So to make it extra hard. So since then, I'm very cautious about who I let into my circle. I still have some really great people I've let into my circle that I've met through my old toxic church. From my various churches that I've gone to, I still have friends. Here it's a little harder to make friends because COVID and people come and go here in Costa Rica like busboys in a restaurant. So every time you get really close to somebody, they're gone. I can name a few people, like my friend Mary that left, that I was good buddies with. Mary is also an artist, and she had to leave because her and her husband broke up, and that was a whole different story I have to talk about sometime. Hey, masterpiece in a mess. So now you know. Anybody that if you have a friendship and they make you feel bad, cut that thing off right then, because you know darn good and well that that is somebody who is just going to try to mess you up in some way. Friends wish the best for their friends. They hope for the best. They think the best. They don't go, why is this person trying to make me feel bad about myself? And trying to make me feel bad about my marriage, trying to make me feel bad about my lifestyle, about everything. Oh, thank you, masterpiece in a mess. I had some people who got on to me about it. Apparently, I used a phrase that they were very offended by. I did not mean it in that way. So I'm glad somebody enjoyed it. It's all very interesting, waiting to see what's going to happen. We know that KJ is about to throw her under the bus in the biggest way possible. This will be a birthday she'll always remember. Oh, my goodness. Is that true? Oh, my goodness, Rayette Fine Frock. Okay, so, which one? I said that was mighty white of her, which is just a Southernism I picked up as a kid. I should have said that was mighty right of her. I made a mistake. I'm owning that right now and telling you, hey, I make mistakes. I suck. It's like Erin Costello, EKC, people suck. She says everybody sucks, just own it. There's a lot of truth to that statement, and I find it's a lot easier to go ahead and own things you do right away. own things right away and just go on from there. Somebody left me a comment about it, so I'm owning it. So there it is. And it wasn't meant in a racial way. It was just meant in a stupid old Southern way. I try not to say some of the things my father used to say. My father was a great one for crazy things. And there we go. Happy Deposition Day. Oh, most definitely. Christoph Van always. Barbara, I try to stay real. I just try to come out and say it like it's like right now. I'm in shock that Jkj Declassified is going after real entertainment news, real fights with everybody. And I think that he does that to bring views to his page. That would be my guess, to bring people to his YouTube. And I've had some conversations with Real. I like Real. I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't like some of the stuff he says about women, but he knows that I don't like those things. And yeah, I don't like that stuff. But you can like somebody and not approve of every single statement they say. I think that's one of the big things that our modern society tells us that's not a good thing that we all pick up. It's like, you don't agree with me. There's no way you and I could be friends. Well, that's not life. Life is full of people of all kinds of walks of life and all thoughts. Some of my best friends are 180 degrees diametrically opposed to my political views. And that's okay. We need people on both sides, I think. It does say in the Bible, you know, as iron sharpens iron. They love to quote that one when they start fighting with people. But I think that is more true in getting along with people and having to sometimes consider that their view is the correct one. No, I do not. I do not know. I wish I did. I meant to ask Mr. Chrisley when it would be. He has stated that he was going to be in Minnesota for this deposition, especially. And I hate to say it, I am all in on that. I am all in on Todd Chrisley. I watched like ads for his show every now and then. Thought, it doesn't look like that's my cup of tea. My husband watched a couple of episodes. He said he really liked it. There's no accounting for taste, I guess. But I've gone back and looked at a couple clips, and it looks like it's probably fine. Don't know what time the deposition is, but all I can say is having a deposition on your birthday would suck. It would be horrible. I can't imagine. And even though I'm excited that there will be some consequences for bad behavior, I'm not excited over the fact that I know it probably hurts really bad to be going through this crap right now. And I'm sure it's scary as heck. Oh, and I think that's why Todd Paulson is creeping on Road Hog's resume and job boards. It's the only thing I can think of. Melly, I am not sure. They don't always have depositions at the courthouse. Not always. Sometimes they're lawyers' offices. Sometimes there's some kind of neutral ground. It just depends. Barbara, I have a couple of really close friends, some really good ones. I have a friend that I made in Germany when I was in my 20s, and her and I talk weekly. We're kind of like peas in a pod, but we're not reinforcing each other's weirdness unless it's our love of cats. That's about it. I adore her. She's a little abrasive, and people have a hard time getting to know her. I've told her before, she's like grown-up Daria, and I'm like grown-up Jane from the show Daria. So there you go. Yeah, I can hardly imagine the questions he's going to ask, because the deposition today does not have to do with Chrisley's lawsuit against KJ. It has to do with a lawsuit that Chrisley has against somebody else that KJ reported on. So there is that. Barbara, that's awesome. That's such a blessing. I moved around a lot. I don't have any friends like that, unfortunately. I do have a couple people from high school still in my life that I've known 40 plus years, I guess, maybe like 48 years. I've known my husband a long time. So that's it, really. I know we're all going to be sitting here with bated breath. If I hear what happened with the deposition in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to come on and talk about it because that is the most interesting thing of today for me. If KJ tries to plead the fifth in civil case, it opens her up to any civil liabilities that could be caused by doing so. Well, yep. Is the depo for defamation? No, Christoph fan. It is for a lawsuit that Chrisley has against somebody else. But my understanding is whatever she says in this deposition can also be used in the defamation case. Don't think he scheduled her for a deposition for the defamation case. I know that Steve's case, Steve McRae, just went into Discovery, and he has posted about some of the interesting things that Discovery is popping up with. So there's that. It's like a KJ legal smorgasbord. I feel a little obsessed here today. I keep checking Twitter and Reddit for any type of info. Ginger, I am going to have to, well, I got to sew anyway. I've got to finish up a quilt, and I'm just upset with myself. I'm no longer going to do big quilts. It's making one for the bed here. I have several of them put together, and I just need to quilt them. I can't make myself quilt them because I'm tired of looking at the fabric. So I'm going to go in my sewing room and try to ignore this until this afternoon. I think that he will. Here's the thing I think is going on with Chrisley. My observations, and from having spoken to him a couple times, I don't think he's going to back down. I don't think he's going to settle. The only way I could ever see him settling is if she gave up her YouTube channel, admitted she lied, gave up her social media accounts to him, and retracted everything she said. She would have to allocute. I'm positive of that. So she would have to give up a lot of things. And I think that's my opinion. I don't know how true that is, but that's just the impression I'm getting. He's got money. He's got big money to pursue this. So he can tie her up in court forever until she loses her mind and everything she owns. So there's that. He may do that. And I know that Steve McRae has said that he will only settle if she allocutes, admits she was wrong, that he didn't sexually harass her in any way, shape, or form, and she pays all of his legal fees, including going back to that illegally obtained restraining order she got on him by claiming that they'd been in a room and he tried to essay her. I sure hope Chrissy follows through like Tati. She really doesn't deserve her platform. Barbara, I wouldn't have a problem with her platform if she was just straight reporting on stuff. The problem I have with her and her platform is she makes all these claims about all these different people and she extrapolates out. She'll take a little nugget of truth. There's a number of things she says about the Duggars that were things that I had said just a little bit about the Duggars. That little nugget of inside information that I got from somebody in the family and just gone with it. And there's no proof of any of this. And I told her, I said, I can't publish these things because I can't back them up with any kind of evidence. You have to be able to back stuff up with evidence before you can use it that way. If you just go ahead and ramble on and shout these things out like she's doing, you open yourself up for defamation. Like I said, I'm not even sure she ever read Pathea's best practices manual. They had a long manual with how to work there and what the ethics were and everything else and how to use the CMS platform. And I had mine printed out. I would refer back to it regularly, but not her. I think she hit the ground running and thought she would. Considering a civil lawyer in Minnesota is $300 an hour, she might want to settle. Well, nothing would make me happier than if she would settle by giving up everything, by giving up her YouTube. Let her go to TikTok or one of the other Instagram, whatever, one of the other places. And she does have an Instagram account. And I don't know if you saw Renelle Smith's video where she took one of her deleted Instagrams videos and she played it. It was vile. It had every kind of gossip about the Duggars, and it said a lot of things that were untrue. One of the biggest things it said, Rosie may have a point there. He does do that, and I've talked to him about it too. Anyway, she was saying that about Joshua Williams being a witness for Josh Duggar. Yes, he's on the witness list, most definitely. Yes, he is the grandson of Ron Williams, who ran. I can never pronounce the name of that stupid Hephzibah house. I always mispronounce that. I don't know why. Here, I just looked at it and said it, and I blew it again. Hephzibah house. Ron Williams ran that, started it and ran it. And she was claiming that S.M. Davis was related to Ron Williams, who was related to Joshua Williams. Joshua Williams is the grandson of Ron Williams. He's also the grandson of S.M. Davis, which means that unlike what she was saying, S.M. Davis and Ron Williams are not blood related. Having a grandchild in common does not make one blood related. Hello, I haven't got my notifications. Don't know what's up with YouTube. YouTube does that because I find that too. And I'm like, whoa, I missed that. I really wanted to see that. T King, you're right. I believe there's something mental going on. And I don't even really want to say what, but it does fit certain personality disorders, the stuff she does and says. It really does. And I'm hoping that if she hits bottom, she'll realize she really needs to get help. I mean, that's the tragic thing to me. And I don't like the idea of her hitting bottom. I really don't wish her ill. I just wish her well. I wish her well. Rose, politics is safer than YouTube. Yeah, you're right about that. You were right about that. I've never fought with Real. I've always gotten along with him, even though I think it's approach. I really think there are ways to approach people when they're doing stuff wrong that you don't agree with, that don't make people flip out. And I think with him, he's been so hurt that he tends to flip out a lot easier than anyone else. I wish the best for him too. Yeah, the Tati West lawsuit, I was disappointed that they settled, because all it did was make KJ worse. And that's what I'm afraid is going to happen if Todd Chrisley and or Steve McRae takes a settlement with this woman. I'm afraid they'll just make her all the worse. Yep. Yes, Melly. And with maybe just a pinch of personality disorder. Just the one that they say is incredibly hard to treat. People don't have empathy for others. If you don't have empathy for others, I don't even know what life would be like for that. That would be terrible, in my personal opinion. But what can you do? So here's hoping that all of this leads her to a healthier tomorrow. That is really what I think needs to happen. Whether or not or will is a whole different ballgame. Well, I better go. I hear my husband is back from all his teaching English this morning. He's back, and I can hear him rambling around in there. And I've got T-shirts to wash for his little T-shirt ministry thing he does up at the church. So have a great day. Have your notifications on, because I'm expecting to hear something by the end of the day, but then again, maybe not. So I don't know if this deposition is going to happen. Part of me thinks that there's going to be a medical emergency or something that canceled it. Love you guys. Take care. Have a great day.